So welcome back, and your homework. Did you remember your homework? Yes, Mickey? Anybody want to report back on their homework, online or in the room? Do you remember what the homework was?
Go ahead.
I remember what.
Wait. Let's see if I can manage this. Say again, please, Mick.
Yes, but I don't remember the answer.
Mick online, can you say again, please? Let's see if I can manage. Mick, can you say it again? She said, give up her life.
Yep.
She can hear me.
Give up attachment to this life.
Yeah, she's saying a dangerous way, huh? She said, give up her life.
Yes, let's be precise here. And did you want to make any more comments on that? Give up this life. Give up this life. Yeah, maybe that's give up this life rather than give up your life. Give up this life.
I think it's too dangerous.
Anybody? Yep.
Probably would
Take the.
probably would interpret this: give up the life you envisioned or your expectation, how you think you should live, and then be kind of a bit more honest, or don't chase the dream you construct about yourself, how your life's supposed to look.
Yeah.
I think I just passed this on.
Yeah, I have to admit that I was totally lost. The
In this
toddy
life.
was so good. I was so attached to it. Yeah. Yeah, I think to give up this life is not trying to find happiness, lasting happiness in this life, in any kind of source outside.
You don't have to speak, by the way, just because the microphone's being passed on. Yeah.
I think he meant he's doing all the prostrations and circumambulances just to he doesn't have a reason behind doing it. It's just a routine to him now. So I think that's what he meant. Just give up this routine and try to see what you're actually trying to do rather than just doing the routine. That's just samsara.
Yeah. Okay.
Do I pass?
Yeah, if anybody else wants to speak.
It's working.
The way I understood it is possibly kind of giving up the view of this life as kind of being ultimate and sort of totally real, and sort of I haven't got it in my head, but kind of relating that to giving up sort of worldly attachments and giving up a life of sort of the 8 worldly concerns, and sort of maybe the idea that the practitioner was kind of doing those things with ideas of kind of gain and loss and achievement, kind of giving that up.
Yeah. Yeah, so Tim, you just mentioned the 8 worldly concerns. These are, hang on, I had a, well, essentially hope and fear. there's a story of a. They say that the last thing to go, the meditator up in the cave, is the thought, I wonder what the people down in the village are thinking about me. So, you know, as we enter the spiritual path, again, as we were saying earlier, it's inevitable that the ego is going to go, yep, I got this, we're now going to become spiritual. And so the inevitability of the 8 worldly concerns just playing themselves out as we follow the spiritual path. So we're letting go of those. They're called the 8 worldly concerns, or the mundane concerns, and they are, everything that's playing out in this lifetime, in our grasping at believing ourselves to be really real. That's actually the fakest thing that's going on. Is our belief in ourselves to be really real. We are real, but we're not really real. And I've heard it said, you know, like we have all of these images of like these different deities, Chenrezig, and so we've got Chenrezig here or over there, Medicine Buddha, another form of Chenrezig, Thousand Armed Chenrezig. These are all actually, you could say, psychological tools to stimulate and to wake up particular qualities within us. So again, if I was the tennis player, I'd have a picture of Federer on the wall, not to like just, you know, oh great Federer, please make me, please make me a perfect tennis player. It's much more. I think Picasso said, you know, does he believe in a muse? And he said, yeah, but you've got to be working when they turn up. And if they find you working, then, like you, again, as I was saying earlier, if you give them an inch, they can take 1,000,000 miles. But yeah, so like we'd say, Chenrezig is the embodiment and the representation of compassion. And so our connection with that image, with that representation, it's said to trigger and to wake up those qualities within us. But then if you take the question, so is Chenrezig real? And the reply is, Chenrezig knows that he is not real. And that's the difference. We believe ourselves to be real. And that belief is what's locking us into not just this lifetime, but the continued repetition of believing in something that's not really real. So another way of putting that is to say, because we do practices where you visualize yourself as Chenrezig, and this is similar to like in sports psychology, visualizing yourself receiving the gold medal, crossing the finishing line in first place. These are known to actually create the causes, to support the causes and conditions for that to happen. Like they're valid psychological tools. So visualizing ourselves as Chenrezig, and you go, well, that's fake. Here I am pretending to be Chenrezig. Actually, I am Chenrezig pretending to be Aileen. And in my belief in, but I'm Aileen, that's what's blocking me from actually recognizing that I am Chenrezig.
There is one in the shot. Can you get there?
I don't think renunciation is about giving up. It's more about awareness of our habitual patterns. Yes, exactly. I think renunciation, and many words actually, we have to really unpack them and reclaim them and recognize their value. So just, yeah, maybe just that. Anybody else want to say anything on what they understand renunciation to be? On what you're saying, Mickey, about, it's more, it's not about giving up, it's more about awareness of our habitual patterns. Ram Dass was asked, he's a spiritual teacher, an American, many decades. And yeah, he was asked, like, okay, you've been studying and practicing now for decades. Have you, are all the neuroses gone? Have you given up all of your negative states of mind? And he said, no, they're all still there. But my relationship with them is completely changed. And that's the shift. Again, this is in recognizing, like, it's not about throwing anything out or trying to get rid of anything, but completely shifting and changing our relationship with it. And I know Mingyur Rinpoche, when he was talking about panic attacks the other day, he was speaking about them again in the present tense. He was, and maybe that was just a grammatical, but I was hearing it as him speaking about it in the present tense of a gratitude for it, like that there's something there to work with. And I know Sokni Rinpoche also talks about, I think Sokni Rinpoche was talking about his fear of flying. And it's not about getting rid of it, but he did talk about, like, if you can lessen it enough that you can cope with it, and then you can work with it. So a bit like if we go to the gym to, build up our muscles, we need to find a machine that's got just enough resistance to push us and to help us to make genuine change. There's got to be some tension there to work with. Not enough, not too much that is going to destroy you. So again, this is very important when we're working with destructive emotions, traumas. Some of them, like sitting and meditating with all of them, isn't always the smartest thing to do. There are many other things that might be needed to support our ability to relate to them differently. So we do have to be skillful with it. And there are many other ways of doing it to support it. Some of the more obvious ones would be to just work with things that are not so strongly triggering. Like if we're working with, say, anger, just identify examples of minor irritation. Don't go for the big stuff first. Build up the ability to deal with the smaller ones, and then you can kind of work, or as Mingyur Rinpoche was saying, he talked about his panic attacks, but then he talked about his fear of the panic attacks. That's kind of the outer layer. That's where you can meet it, sort of in the neighborhood, rather than going straight into just meet it at a level that. And that's an authentic level as well. Becoming very aware of we can be triggered by something that happened in our past. Let's say the fear of dogs. We got bitten by a dog, and so every time a dog comes near us, we have that reactivity. So you just become aware of that reactivity as it's happening, how it's showing up in the body, and so on. Sorry, renunciation. Let's talk a bit more. I want to read some quotes for you. This is where I have too many documents open. So this is from His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Renunciation does not refer to the act of giving up all our possessions, but rather to a state of mind. As long as our minds continue to be driven by ignorance, there is no room for lasting happiness. And we remain susceptible to problem after problem. To cut through this cycle, we need to understand the nature of this suffering of conditioned existence and cultivate a strong wish to gain freedom from it. This is true renunciation. So this, it's not about giving things up necessarily, but rather a state of mind. And Jetsunma often tells this story of a Maharaja, a king who had a guru that would come to teach him. And the guru had one possession, a bowl, a begging bowl. And on one occasion, they're out in the palace gardens and the guru is teaching, and a servant comes running out and says to the king, "Your palace is on fire. Come quickly." And the king said, "These are just material possessions. I trust you can take care of it. I'm receiving teachings from my guru. Don't disturb me." And the guru jumped up and he went, "But my bowl is in there." So this is from Joseph Goldstein. The inner work is in letting go, in the renunciation of the wandering mind. So the renunciation of the wandering mind. Again, this is all of our meditation practice, is to sit and simply see that the mind is wandering. Yeah? Not to judge it, not to get rid of it, but the very seeing of it. In letting go, in the renunciation of the wandering mind, of afflictive emotions, of the idea of self. The Buddha taught people in a wide range of lifestyles, from kings to paupers. Pauper is a poor person. In one teaching, he said that it is better to live in a palace and be free of desire than to be in a cave, consumed by the wanting mind. And that's so tricky. We could be in our cave, doing our practice, being the meditator, and not even noticing that we're consumed by the wanting mind. Because we're using the dharma to keep our attachments going. And that's the deepest problem, actually. The very thing that can free us if we use that to keep ourselves entrapped. And again, there's an inevitability to it. It's just about seeing it. So this is from, actually, I don't know who this person is. Are you allowed to quote people that you don't know who they are? Yeah. Philip Moffat. I don't know who you are, but I really like what you said. Renunciation is not about killing your ego or developing aversion to it. Rather, it is about forming a new relationship with your ego, such that it reflects your deeper values rather than its immediate wants. You don't cease being motivated by your ego. After all, it is a source of interest and energy. Think of the ego as a puppy. It likes to play, chase after things, wants attention, and creates messes, but is still lovable and a source of warmth in your life. This is all very important, that we, it's about developing a healthy sense of ego. And it can be trained and developed to serve your deeper values. Students often feel dread when I bring up the topic of renunciation, but their fear is unfounded because renunciation enhances rather than diminishes your life. And that's like, we hear renunciation, well, I've got to give up all the things I like, but it's enhancing your life rather than diminishing it. Ram Dass, start to relate to your desires as something you can scrutinize rather than as things that totally suck you in all the time, things that consume you. Get into a friendly relationship with your desires. Play with them instead of being driven by them all the time. Desires get to be fun, really, once we're observing them instead of mechanically reacting to them. The whole game of renunciation and purification is an experiment in how quickly we can extricate ourselves from being attached to our desire systems. Notice that it isn't a question of getting rid of the desires. That's a misunderstanding. Trust me, the desires will stay around. And I think that's with, Payment Children has this very simple and very profound statement, I think, being okay with not being okay. Yeah. So, yeah, the desires will stay around. We're just loosening their hold on us, getting clear enough of them so we can see them in some sort of context. And I talked earlier about Ajahn Brahm using the term kindfulness. So renunciation is about letting go, yeah? And another word for this, which again we misinterpret, relaxation. And relaxation, and again, it's a term that's very often thought of in terms of meditation, but I think it's Venerable Aileen or Jetsunma often says, if you want to relax in that sense of the term, and maybe as Mingyur Rinpoche talked about it, like if you want to use meditation as like going to a spa retreat, okay, it'll alleviate your suffering for a little bit, but it won't cut through. And it won't always alleviate the suffering either. So if you're just doing it for relaxation in that sense of having some comfort, having some freedom from our struggles, it is better to just go and have a massage or something that you enjoy. And there's nothing wrong with that. That all of that helps as well to have to create a conducive environment to do the hard work of sitting looking at your mind. But so yeah, Ajahn Brahm, kindfulness, he says, is the animating force behind all relaxation. So this means that it's through that kind, attentive willingness to accept our struggles, our pain, our negative emotions, that willingness to be with it in a kind, attentive way is what relaxes us. And relaxation, again, like it's letting go of hope and fear. Renunciation, it's compassion for ourselves. And so we talk a lot about having compassion for all beings. It's impossible for us to develop that if we're not directing it towards ourselves first. And we can only develop it towards ourselves when we really see the suffering in our own minds, when we're able to genuinely be with it. Kindness. So we started with that, and this kindness has to start towards our own suffering, and we can do that in the service of others. Again, our motivation. We think, like we hear about self-care, and it can be understood mistakenly, and I mean, again, our intention can be that it's kind of about making ourselves more important. I have to look after myself. I can't take on the suffering of all others. I've just got too much of my own. But we can again shift the intention behind it, so that it does become, I want to make myself, I want to respect myself, I want to take care of myself, I want to look after myself, so that I can become a more capable being to serve others. Venerable Bina has this, when I hear this, I hear it as like a mathematical equation. The extent to which we are out of sync with reality is the extent to which we suffer, and to that extent cause harm to others. Does that make sense? The extent to which we are out of sync with reality is the extent to which we suffer, and to that extent, necessarily, we harm others.
I think the first part of the question makes sense, but the second one, I was thinking about somebody who has maybe severe depression and is hiding at home. Probably people do not even realize it because the person doesn't interact with anyone. So I was wondering if the second part is necessarily true.
So you're saying that if I'm at home and not interacting with others, that my actions would not harm them?
Yeah, I was wondering if somebody who's, let's say, yeah, if they would at least not actively harm someone in the moment. Maybe their family and their friends in some sense, yeah.
Yeah. So you are impacting. If our thoughts count, if our thoughts have an impact on the world, if we are all interconnected, then yeah, even if I never see another human being again, my thoughts would still be influencing. This is a hypothesis.
Yeah. Yeah, probably you're right. You drain energy from the whole environment.
Yeah, no man is an island.
Yeah.
So maybe this is the wisdom aspect too, like touching in on that. And this is an important quote from Shantideva. So there's a book called A Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life, written by Shantideva, and this surely is the most profound endorsement of a book from His Holiness the Dalai Lama, where His Holiness says, if I have any understanding of compassion and the practice of the Bodhisattva path, it is entirely on the basis of this text that I possess it. So A Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life is a laying out of the path towards the development of what's called bodhicitta. And this term, it is, I mean, maybe to say it's the altruistic mind, the mind that's willing and capable of benefiting all other beings. So just as we started our day today, just as I wish to be happy, just as I wish to be free of suffering, so do all others. And by my engaging in this practice, I'm going to get myself enlightened so that I can help all others to also get enlightened. This is it's actually described as like a warrior saint. It's the willingness and the necessary courage and commitment to develop my qualities so that I can benefit others. And so it goes through what are called the 6 perfections. And I've heard it said that it's maybe a more accurate term to say I don't know if this is a word, a perfectionizer. Is there any such word?
Yes, we can.
We get it. Okay, so a perfectionizer, as in, so in and of itself, so they are generosity, ethical conduct, patience, diligence, sometimes called joyful effort, meditation, and wisdom. So the perfectionizer aspect means that, so just being kind, just being generous, just being patient in and of itself, again, with this idea of doing it for this lifetime, for Aileen, doing it for this person here, but not doing it for that person there because I don't like them. So just the practice of it by itself isn't going to bring us to perfection. But if we imbue it with wisdom, the recognition of it all being interconnected, and that that we're not, again, solid, permanent, separate, that is beyond subject and object. It's just, again, that natural expression of these qualities. So they become perfectionizers if we can do it with at least some connection with maybe this is bigger than what I'm, maybe this drinking this cup of coffee, it can become a bigger action if I drink it and go, I'm enjoying this. May all beings enjoy things like this and more. Does that make sense, or have I gone a little bit? I'll just drink more coffee. But anyway, in all of that that book, there's the wisdom chapter opens with this. All these branches of the doctrine, and that's like going through all of the teachings on cultivating generosity, patience, ethical discipline, and so on. All of this, the enlightened sage expounded for the sake of wisdom. Therefore, we must cultivate this wisdom. And why? For the wish to have an end of suffering. So here it's saying that without cultivating this wisdom, we will not be free of suffering. We can be as generous as we want, as patient as we want, as kind as we want. But if we don't have, if it's not underpinned with the cultivation of wisdom, only wisdom will cut through our ignorance. Nothing else will do it. But this wisdom is not sitting there in and of itself. And I think Mingyur Rinpoche was kind of referring to that, that if we just sort of focused on that on its own, it can become dry and, just that it becomes dry. So you got to warm it from the heart. And this lovely quote from another person I don't know, Theodore Isaac Rubin, who I think was an American psychotherapist. Kindness is more important than wisdom. And the recognition of this is the beginning of wisdom. Does that make sense? Kindness is more important than wisdom, and the recognition of this is the beginning of wisdom. Or another quote from somebody called George Saunders, a novelist. Kindness is the only non-delusional response to the human condition. So we should probably do a little bit of practice. Any questions about anything? Oh, thank you, Dorje Lamo. Philip Moffat, a Vipassana meditation teacher and an instructor at Spirit Rock. It's always a little bit tricky after lunch. We're sitting here with bellies full of food, and I'm not sure where I was going to. I want to read this quote. I don't remember where I was going to put it, so I'll just read it and see. This is from His Holiness the Dalai Lama as well. This is on compassion. So as I was saying, renunciation is compassion for yourself. To develop such a powerful state of mind as compassion, which has great spiritual value and benefits, it's not adequate merely to contemplate the suffering of others. It is important to first reflect upon your own suffering and develop a deep sense of its unbearableness. So developing a deep sense of this unbearableness of suffering, again, this is renunciation. Like that, renunciation in the Tibetan term sometimes is translated as to definitively emerge, which sounds a little clunky, but it's like, you know, you're definitely wanting to get out of it. You absolutely recognize it as something you do not want to be in. You definitively emerge. You're like, done with it. A deep sense of its unbearableness. As this feeling deepens and becomes stronger, you will be better able to empathize with others' suffering. So it's just natural that willingness to really see our own suffering, again, with the from the perspective of knowing, having confidence that we can be free of it. Then just naturally we're going to be able to be of more benefit to others. Generally, this is His Holiness, when we see beings who are in acute pain, we naturally feel compassionate. However, if we see someone who is, in our eyes, successful in worldly terms, wealthy, powerful, and with lots of friends, instead of feeling compassion towards such a person, we may feel envy. This shows that our realization of the suffering nature of human existence is not profound. So the realization of it not being profound, again, it's like it's not arising out of wisdom. It's crucial to first generate a deep insight into the suffering nature of our own existence. And this is from someone called Geshe Sonam Rinchen. Unless you fully recognize your own condition of suffering and want to free yourself, that's, like, again, key to it, you will never feel the intense compassion for others in a similar condition, which eventually gives birth to the altruistic intention. Just understanding what the wish to leave cyclic existence and the altruistic intention entail does not make you a real practitioner. These attitudes must be so deeply ingrained that they become the motivating force for everything you do. So that, again, it can only be deeply ingrained if we sit and meditate and become deeply familiar with what is arising in our own minds, what is our direct experience of reality.
I might have a question.
Yep.
Sorry. You were talking about compassion to ourselves,
Yeah.
and compassion to others, and it drives me back to the example of the coffee queue.
Yeah.
And my question is about setting boundaries.
Yeah.
Because in this example, for instance, when I feel that I might have compassion to that person in front of me that maybe is dealing with a lot in his life, and it's okay that he's in front of me. If I choose to just have compassion for him, and I don't set any boundaries, and I say, okay, I don't care, I don't mind, I'm living a great day. Maybe I'm also conveying a message to the other people that it's okay not to have any boundaries, and I am not really at ease with where is the right balanced status for youngers or maybe people that are more fragile in the example that we embody at that moment.
Yep.
So I have a feeling that there is something between me and that person, but do we as human have a role toward other people that are just testimony, that are just assisting to that scene?
Yep.
I'm a bit lost with all this.
Yep. So again, it comes back to our intention. This is the driving force. This is the main component in any of our actions. The deciding factor in like the impact. Compassion has many different forms, and it's absolutely very common that we think of it in terms of being nice. But there's also wrathful forms of compassion, and you know, this is a peaceful form. There's another one called Mahakala, which is like really fierce looking. Yeah. Not someone you might like to meet in the street, but so an example would be if a child's about to stick their hand on the fire, and their mother says, or the mother says, "Stay away from the fire," and the child's not listening and moves closer. "I said stay away." Next minute, their hand, bring it, and you go over and like pull the child away and say, "I told you to stay away." If my intention was for that child not to suffer, then that's a compassionate action. It could be mixed with anger and so on, but in its pure form, if we have got the skillful means, if we have the wisdom capacity to, and genuinely to have their interest in our minds when we step in to respond, it might be that we say, "Excuse me, stand behind me, please." If we can say that with genuine concern for their welfare, then it is a compassionate action. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you made it very clear, saying it's not only about being nice.
Yeah.
It depends on the intention.
Yeah. And like this is the work that we have to uncover, really, because we're, again, the being nice. You know that phrase, "meaning well is not enough," or you say, "But I meant well. I tried to." Yeah, translating.
I'm trying to
Yeah.
make sure I understood it.
Yeah. Another English phrase, "the road to hell is paved with good intentions."
Okay, yeah.
I don't know if that's a similar.
Same in French.
It makes sense, but it's slightly different.
It's a little different, yeah. But yeah, just that meaning well is not enough. You say, "But I meant well. I tried," and a lot of our engagement with suffering is really. Again, if we haven't given up attachment to this life, if it's all about trying to just make things look better, we might not be addressing or accepting the truth of suffering. Sometimes when another person is suffering in front of us, or even in our own suffering, we can't bear to be with it. So we're just going to try and do something to calm it all down, or I don't like we just want to make things nice. We want to make things okay. And so, again, it's well-intentioned, but it might be just doing another cover-up job of not looking at the truth of suffering. We always want it to go away, which is that's arising out of compassion, but we need the wisdom to know how to do it. I mean, for me, going in to visit people in prison, there's no contradiction between I want you to be well and happy, and I'm glad you're here in prison. I'm not bringing you home with me. You need to be here locked up. That's not to say that prisons work or that they're perfect places or anything like that, but there are consequences to our actions. So you're judging the action, but you're not judging the person. You're recognizing that there's a distinction. I'm going off track. I don't know if that's...
Yeah, it put meanings.
Yeah.
No, you could actually. There is a quote on the chat that makes sense. That goes now on Yala.
Okay, so this is from Dorje Lama. If you do not take time to think of yourself as a gathering of the kindness of others, you may begin to associate the development of your own kindness with doing favors for others. This is from Kandro Rinpoche. If you do not take time to think of yourself as a gathering of the kindness of others, you may begin to associate the development of your own kindness with doing favors for others. Dorje Lama, would you like to offer us a commentary on that? I think I get it, but I'd really love to hear your... So Michelle will...
I will try to open and see if it works.
Thank you.
I think from the context of the 6 perfections. Can you unmute yourself,
Yeah.
please?
I'm muted.
Yes.
We hear you.